Good afternoon, on what is a very warm, bright and sunny day. It is Thursday, the April the 11th, and I'm in the reading nook with a nice hot cup of tea and a box to unbox. So let's get the knife, find out what is in here. Cut the tape, doesn't want to. There we go. Need a little bit of persuasion. Knife down there. And I've got... what have I got here? I have got this. So, I'll put the knife down so I need it to cut through the... cut through the sellotape on the packing carefully. Put it back in the box, of course, until I come to put it on the shelf, if I can find room on the shelf, of course. So sorry, just almost there. Here we go. The Blessed and the Blasphemous Call of Cthulhu source book from the Sons of Singularity. So, best known for the Indochine pair of supplements which explore French Indochina up until sort of like Vietnam War. So, cosmic horror and intrigue set in North Africa at the onset of World War II. The Blessed and the Blasphemous offers a gripping tale set in the tumultuous backdrop of North Africa at the onset of World War II. This seven-scenario Call of Cthulhu campaign immerses players in a harrowing journey across the diverse locations, from the bustling Casablanca seaport to the majestic peaks of the Atlas Mountains. Delve into the depths of the human depravity and ancient eldritch lore as you unravel the clues pointing to a peril that threatens the very fabric of our world. So, not much to see, but there's a nice cover. Let's find out what we've got inside. It has to be said that this is not a setting or a period that has been visited very much by Lovecraftian investigative horror role-playing. Most notably in Secrets of Morocco from Chaosium, which was an earlier supplement adapted to Call of Cthulhu for the role-playing game Mean Streets, and I don't think that's the only one. I think there's been a couple of iterations of it by that author. And beyond that, when you think Call of Cthulhu and Africa, you are really very much thinking of Egypt, of course, with the great Master of Nyarlathotep campaign, and then its southern counterpart, Kenya. Okay, because you've got two big chapters in that campaign in that part of the world, and Egypt. Also, the other campaign tied into it is the fungi from Yuggoth, or the Brotherhood of the Beast. So this switches across to the western half of North Africa. So we are dealing with sort of like Algeria, Tunisia, and so on. Here we have that exact same location, giving you a general map of it. You've got the introduction, of course. So I'll just show you the first page. Start there and work our way through properly. So we've got the credits page and the table of contents. Then the map that introduction shows you, before we get into timeline for the campaign. And overview. Now I always welcome a new campaign, especially if that campaign does something a bit different, takes us to new places, and which is the case of the Blessed and the Blasphemous. So we've got a good introduction to the history of the period of the region. It's leading up to the 1930s, and of course, when you think, the other thing you think about when you think of the North Africa, and especially this area during World War II in the late 30s, you're thinking of the film Casablanca, and of course you do actually get to go to Casablanca. So we are talking about Morocco and sort of like Algeria. I mean, that region of North Africa. We've got some notes there about playing Moroccan investigators. So let's talk about the possibility. Doesn't necessarily support it very much. There, I think I would have a bit more advice than just sort of like a side note. What details about money matters and credit rating for the region? Because the other thing about it is these are sort of colonies, as it were, French colonies, and at the time, you know, the your money would have actually carried a bit of weight there, as it were, because you probably have more of it. So first of the locations is Casablanca. We've got a nice map of Casablanca. Generic locations. The dramatis personae, including the first Nazi, criminal inspector Theodore Orr. And the other thing about this setting is it's sort of semi-neutral. It's technically part of Vichy France, but it's sort of not. So you know, it's not under full German occupation, as it were. So you can meet a lot of interesting people there. You know, I mean, as essentially as portrayed in the film Casablanca. My thoughts. Supernatural in the region. So we've actually got mention here of the Iranian city of Lost Pillars, placed here necessarily rather than the traditional location, supposedly in the empty quarter in Arabian Peninsula, which is where it's been sort of like usually placed in the mythos, a section of artifacts and spells. Demon of Carthage, Dust of the Blessed, Sepulchral, Servants of the Sorcerer, Unbind the Jinn. And then we have essentially mythos monsters, including the Jinn and the Ghoul, essentially you know, variations upon, basically the Ghoul is going to be a variation upon the classic Ghoul. And it's going to be also, I mean, partly because obviously this is the culture from which the Ghoul kind of comes from. Ghoul is it's a Middle Eastern word, I believe Arabic. I can be correct, but I believe it is. Anyway, antagonists of the Blessed and the Blasphemous. Here we come to the enemy. We've also got the Erba, essentially the ancestral heritage think tank for developing racial policy for the Nazis. Yeah, so they are running around looking for artifacts and histories that will enforce their world view. We even got involvement of the Legionnaires, the French Foreign Legion. And here we have the advice here for building investigators. So perhaps here, I think it's interesting that side note about playing a Moroccan investigator isn't placed here, but essentially we've got discusses options in terms of scholars, civilians, military, members of the military, adventurers and so on, your allegiance and corruption, how to retire and investigators and bring in new ones, possible potential confidence and player factions as well. So here we have one faction, the Morocco's bon vivant, including diplomatic corps and industrialists and business folk. Moroccan nationalists, so yeah, this is really where you can bring in the Moroccans themselves. Moroccan organised crime, another player faction, that's going to be funny. And if you take that and really mix those up, you've got a set of interesting characters who wouldn't normally be allied with each other, but so, you know, here we have things like the Horvath gang, the Corsican Mafia, the Maghreb Brotherhood and so on. Yeah, brilliant. It's sort of like you can create great characters to role play within those factions. And then I've got a list of possible firearms that might be found in the region. And then, interestingly, Dido's Ghouls. Optional player faction. Wow, you can actually play a member of sort of somebody allied with the... I think that's great. Because what you then have is essentially blue on blue action, or essentially Mythos versus Mythos cultists versus cultists. You know, you can play someone who is allied with monsters to your own ends. So okay, we have guidance here for law, sheet rules, risk counter rules. These are the special rules for the setting. We've got risk counters there. Got a list of weapons and additional information, including vehicles, possible names, a possible cost of sanity points, climate of Morocco, so on all the listing on the tables. We'll get into scenario 1, he who stands on mountains. Literally, they outline the spine of the scenario up and down a mountain. And this is getting everyone involved, getting the campaign started. Decent handouts. And staging base, so we've got a Fez, so possibly got a bit of flying over the desert, a perilous journey. Where we encounter he who stands in mountains before entering the Upper Paleolithic chamber. We have an abominable scene. And encounter the Demon of Carthage and the epilogue. So that's actually relatively a short adventure as written. We've got other scenario NPCs. We've got a character sheet. For several player characters, several investigators. We'll move on to scenario 2, the Blessed Twin Sisters. And here, we're actually, I think they've done the spine as a piece of cine film, complete with sprockets there. So this is much more of an urban adventure. This, and you know, that is a nod to Casablanca, if ever there was one. You know, it's not Rick's Cafe, but it's Chloe's Cafe. And even we have La Gazeta de Casablanca, a really nice handout there. We've got a dense handout there, basically written notes and recordings, and then we move out into the action. Lights, camera, action. I'm going to share some tea here because there's quite a lot to go through this book too. So so we have the Sultan's movie. That's not, it's optional to include, but you know, you've got optional scenes. Quite a lot of them actually here. Before we get on to finding buried treasure. Finding buried treasure is always fun, except of course when it's involved with the Cthulhu mythos. We have a strange artifact, the caged gun. So we've got full details of this location, epilogue. We've got more character sheets, investigator sheets. So we've brought into play, and then we have Le Dossier Monk. It's going to take together out to the desert. That's some strange incident going on there. And that's more laid out like the spine is more laid out like a corkboard. And we have a strange device there for heavy lifting. More handouts. Before starting with the promotion. And this moves the timeline on to 1939, starting in Casablanca. So we've got big MacGuffin here, the dossier, just information that will help with the campaign. And then list of enemies, the X's list. So this is going to sort of stray into a kind of film noir, I suppose, territory with running conspiracy, running around looking to try and obtain this this dossier, this MacGuffin. I'm dealing with this Famo truck and turn, this sort of like mobile crane. And comes the epilogue, and we've got more sample investigators. So these sort of investigators they can be used sort of like straight from. Basically, they're a mix of sort of like ones you can use straight off and come as ready kind of replacements should. Your investigator die. Here we go, scenario 4, Lodestone Compass, and from the deserts and mountains we go under sea, and here we are diving into a bay, and you can see again that's used for the basis of the spine, and then we get invited up to the Sultan's Palace where we meet the Order. So the book is really, because there's quite a lot of quite relatively short scenes. So there's a certain sort of like punchiness to it, staccato flow of one scene after another. Okay, well, here we are into 1940, and heading for Oran, the big port. Where everyone's going to be diving off the boat into the bay. And so essentially we've got the battleship Britannia schematics and technical drawings, so presumably that's what they're going to be diving on. And of course, the noir elements continue with, there's an author you can refuse, and we're going to have more investigators. I've got optional scenario with its own spine. And we go back to the Hotel Transatlantic, which seems essentially where the campaign seems to be based, where everyone is sort of operating out from. We can conduct research. Before entering Hammam Rahama. Got a map down there. Illustration of the inside, and below into the catacombs. Where the investigators will encounter some common interests. We'll come to a close, and we've got more investigators. I really do like the illustrations for the thumbnail illustrations for these investigators. It's 9:05. The missing lawyer. I'm not commenting on whether or not that's a good thing. Some might say it is, some might say it's not. And we are out into the city. There's going to be an event because you're going to be dressed to impress. There'll be an auction they'll be attending, and an auction is always a fantastic, intense kind of situation. It's almost a classic situation presented for Call of Cthulhu. And discover what's in room 23. Are you clear to know that? For Nord. And the search for the missing lawyer continues. More detailed handouts. Confrontation at the tannery. So, you're going to have a confrontation of probably one of the smelliest places, stinkiest places you can actually go to. Here you actually got a map of that tannery. That's in the open air. I mean, it's a great kind of location. Really nice illustration there, but it is going to be unpleasant. I'm wondering about this sort of like, that we've got zeppelins in the air though, just surrounded by strange butterfly creatures, unless they're sort of like flying polyps or something like that. Comes to the end, and we've got more of these investigators. And then we go on to see beautiful Irene, wish you were here. That's a really weirdly sort of like intense, strange illustration. Let's just show that again. That's fabulous. I mean, you know, basically aping a classic 30s holiday poster with something as horrific as being in the city of Irene. So here at Scenario City 6, we come to the Lost City of Pillars. I think this is an expedition out into the deserts. And we literally do have a trek to the unknown. And the Isis along the way. And here we have a map of Irene. Really, I think this is the first time it's actually been sort of properly mapped out. There's a scenario in Curse of Chthonians, which has been reprinted, which is sort of like, which I can't remember the name of, but it's not particularly good. But it does take you to Irene. And we've got an audience of the Queen there. So essentially this makes much more of the city. Now under Nazi occupation, and I'm sort of what this does actually remind me of a little is it's kind of like the film She, made at the end of the 50s, based on the H. Rider Haggard story, where you've got a lost city, you've got a queen who is effectively immortal, and it seems to be sort of occupied, but basically like a lost Roman city sort of thing. But you know, it's sort of faintly reminiscent of that. Optional scene in the lost city library of Irene. Imagine the knowledge that can be found there. And here we come to a close. It's the epilogue. We have a glossary, always useful. Alternate language handouts, so you can have them in French, presumably German. We have a pre-generated investigators backgrounds, so lots of those. And then acknowledgements for Kickstarter backers, including myself. And that's that. That is the Blessed and the Blasphemous campaign, published by Sons of the Singularity, campaign for Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. I think this looks really interesting. Takes place at a fraught time in an area little visited by the role-playing game, and it's going to be all the more welcome for that. Anyway, thanks for watching another unboxing in the Nook. If you've enjoyed this, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings in the Nook, where you will see me out here with a box containing a role-playing book, typically a role-playing book or game, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. I will be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.